Hello everyone, how are you? I hope you guys are doing good. Good to see you guys back with a haircut, like promised. Hey, I see Mohammed is there, Manisha, Priyanka is there, Jyoti, Hira, Avni, Ganesh, Mayur, Ajitab is there, Mansi is there. Good to see you guys on time as always. Big thank you for you guys to be on time. We'll just wait for another 30 seconds, probably. And we have to cover chapter 4 today. छोटा सा चैप्टर है मजेदार चैप्टर है it's a chapter where we talk a lot about the historic economic aspect of India, what kind of businesses, how businesses had to shift from a particular set of rules while India was in the Mughal period to the British period to when it got independence to how things changed when there was a revolutionization of the economy. सब कुछ पढ़ेंगे, right? Very quickly, very simple chapter. बहुत सिंपल चैप्टर है. इट्स अ वेरी स्कोरिंग चैप्टर, राइट? इट्स सुपर सिंपल टू स्कोर इन दिस चैप्टर. Alright, I see Licha is there, Harshita, Bhumika, Nikhil is there, Vidhi, Sujal, Ravin. What about others? I see a lot of people are absent today. Why is it so? Let us wait for 10 seconds. Probably people are joining in. Good morning. I'm good, Avni. Thank you so much for asking. Right, Vinita is there, Chandan is there. Cool. So with that, let us quickly jump into आपका chapter 4, right, which is government policies for business growth, right? Basically, what we are going to study in this chapter is more around economic aspect, right? थोड़ा सा we'll get a flavor of economics and how a company's economy, how the basic economics of a country affects businesses, right? What are the different aspects that happened in the economy and how businesses had to respond to that, right? In our business environment, we were studying a lot about external environment. Just when we also talked about government as a government policy change, government rule change. वही ये बात करेंगे यहाँ पे because India is a developing country. India has a lot of economic policies and rules that are framed for businesses, that are framed for the growth of businesses, growth of industry, for employment. How does a business respond to that? What happened? अभी तक क्या हुआ है देश में, right? Alright, it's Chetan, but just spelling is CHATAN. So got it, Chetan. Right, so we'll talk a lot about that. There's, if you have any questions, you can shoot at virtualclasses@ici.in. Do not forget to fill the feedback form. I think my name is there now. And you, as always, the more you talk on the live chat, the more I can help you, the more we can talk, the more clarity you can get, right? I'm good, Licha, I'm good. Thank you so much. Ganesh, which haircut? See, my hair are short now. This is what the haircut I'm talking about. I had super long hair, now I've got them trimmed. I look more professional, I hope so. Right? What type of a company is LIC? LIC is a government-owned company. It's a government-owned company. It's a public sector insurance company, which is now like giving out very small, 5-6% of its entire shareholding only. They're coming with an IPO with shares. Instead of 5-6% of their entire ownership, they will be distributing to general public. Right? My name is added. I thank you so much. In the feedback form, it's added. Go and fill that up. Do fill good things. If you find something missing, do fill in that as well. I would really want to improve myself with your feedback. Right? I hope I answered that, Pranjal, right? LIC ka. I'm good. Whatever companies LIC, Pranjal answered. Oh, you're late because of counting in UP. Are you counting the votes today, Mohammed? Are you counting the votes? Great. Chalo, let us go on to understand आपका chapter number 4 कि पढ़ेंगे क्या इसमें, right? What all is going to come in that. And basically, what are we going to study is आपका government policies. Government policies के अंदर 4 things we'll cover. Okay. Now, what do we cover here is basically historical sketch. How has India as a country come from what it was in the Mughal period to the British period to post-independence to the revolution of LPG, which is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Right? We'll study about ancient India, India and the British, India since independence. Small, very chota sa topic. Then we'll talk about specter of government policies for business. Right? On the basis of scope, on the basis of impact. इसको पढ़ेंगे एक बारी. Specter of government policies means bouquet of. What is the collection of? What are the kinds of? What are the different types of government policies? Right? What are the different types of government policies that come into picture? What are the different types of policies that the government uses to either enhance a business or to control a business? Right? Classic example अगर आपको देना है मुझे, so I will give like US putting sanctions on Russia, UK putting sanctions on Russia. ये sanction क्या है? Sanction means they are saying कि from today we will not do business with you. Any company in our country, if they want to do business with you, they cannot do that business. Or even if they want to do, they will have to pay 400 times the tax. Okay. 400% tax de dena hame. I'm just giving an example. So these are the kind of government policies that government puts. Jaise for example, aapka US putting sanctions on Russia or India putting a sanction on Chinese apps. कि आप TikTok use नहीं कर सकते. You cannot play Fortnite. You cannot play different Chinese apps. You cannot use those apps, right? So these are the kind of government policies that they use either to restrict a business or to expand business. जैसे SEZ, like Special Economic Zones, अदानी में पढ़ा था. Special Economic Zone बना देते हैं that more businesses go and develop the rural areas of India. ज़्यादा employment मिले, वहाँ पे उनको benefits देते हैं. They give benefits. Those kinds of policies are also there by the government. And that is what the business, from a business and commercial knowledge, from a business person perspective, आप सोचो अपने आप को as a business person, you should be aware of all of these things, right? Unless you are aware of all of these things, how will you find out if it's an opportunity or a threat? SWOT analysis कैसे करोगे अगर आपको पता ही नहीं होगा? So what kind of policies the government is doing? If you have to do a SWOT analysis, you have to know these things, right? Then we'll also look after macro policies for business conductiveness, right? Conduciveness is basically what we see is macro policies. We'll come to that. अच्छा सा topic, a very good topic. Macro policies, how do we actually create a policy? Policy बनती कैसे है? Is also we'll study, right? What all things the government does when it is developing a policy. It is not like आज मन किया नेताजी का policy बना दो. It is not like that. It is something that the government thinks thoroughly. Right? Government thinks about it. Government works on it, and then it comes to that. Right? Got it. And finally, we'll also study about the economic change process in India, where we'll talk about L, P, and G, which is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Right? We'll study about LPG, which is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. In depth पढ़ेंगे, फटाफट से समझेंगे क्या होता है with very simple examples, right? Okay, I have a question. Apple, Microsoft, Meta, all big companies are also putting sanctions on Russia. That is true because they're part of the American government, right? So the American government is saying we are putting sanctions on Russia. If you want to do business in Russia, you're an American company, you will have to pay a lot of taxes. We will not give you this benefit. We will be after your life. It will create problems for you. This is how the government pushes the businesses to come out of a particular country that they do not have good relations with, right? PUBG, right? PUBG का तो बहुत बड़ा scene हुआ था when the Indian government said कि Chinese apps are banned, right? SBI के नाम में why don't we have limited? Jyoti, we have done an entire session on this. In the last session, I explained thoroughly why SBI does not have limited, because it is not governed by Companies Act. It is governed by SBI Act. Okay, so जो Companies Act में आएगा उसके पीछे limited लगेगा. If a particular company or an organization is not covered under Companies Act, it doesn't need not to follow the rules of Companies Act. Plus, the liability of SBI is unlimited. Right? SBI cannot go bankrupt. SBI ये नहीं बोल सकता मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है. Right? It has unlimited liability. उसको कहीं ना कहीं से पैसे लाके will have to give to the people who have deposited money in SBI. Right? Okay. Sanction means restrictions. Yes, Maram, your sanction means restrictions. Right? Okay. Let us first and foremost understand the historic policy framework in India. India में history कैसे रही है, political framework कैसा रहा है in terms of economy for businesses, right? If I go to the very, very ancient India, when there was Takshashila and Nalanda, right? We had Takshashila and Nalanda universities back in the day, right? When we had Chanakya and Ashoka, right? Ashoka, the ruler, Chanakya, the economist, right? The public economist. He wrote the book Arth Shastra, right? The economics of a particular country, economics of a particular region, right? He told about public policy and economics, what should be done, how should money be printed, what is money, how should taxation should be done, how should land be distributed, who should be the landowner, how should tax be collected from land, how should tax be collected from all the people in the country, where should that money of tax collected be used, army में use करो, roads बनाने में use करो, or you use that to build up your rulers fort, you use that to create global relations, you use that for international trade. How do you use that money that you collect as taxation? That is what Arth Shastra was about. That is what ancient India, in ancient India also we were talking about economics, we were talking about public policy, right? Ashoka came in and gave the policy of peace and harmony. He said that probably the economy will boost if there is peace and harmony in the country, right? He was of the view that peace and harmony will prevail in the right, the peace and harmony will prevail in the region, in your kingdom, if people are happy. अपने आप economy boom हो जाएगी if there is peace and harmony in the region, right? Great. Then came the Gupta dynasty, wherein they were very much focused on, see, Chanakya क्या बोल रहे हैं, build public policy, public से related policy बनाओ. Ashoka said that, boss, I want more peace and harmony in there. Then came Guptas. Gupta said, boss, हमारा focus is on taxation, our focus is on trade, our focus is on warfare. We want economy, we want the public policy to be around taxation, to be around trade, to be around warfare, right? This is what we want our economy to be placed around, right? Then came Delhi Sultanate, which is our Delhi Sultanate, like Kutubuddin Aibak and all these Razia Sultana. They came and said that stringent tax reforms, this started very, very strict taxation reforms, feudal systems, right? Systems of economy, casteism system, अमीर लोगों से ज़्यादा पैसा लेना, गरीब लोगों में बांटना, और गरीब लोगों को और depressurizing and taking money and spending more on the goodwills of the people, of the emperor, right? Different policies. So what is happening is, if you understand this, then came Akbar. I'll come to that. Then came Akbar, that is Mughals, the period when we had Mughals in India. The major thing that they did was called land reforms, right? The major public policy they brought was land reforms. उन्होंने कहा कि भाई land से पैसा कैसे कमाया जाए. So let us give out land to general public and collect taxation from the produce that we do on the agriculture land. On a commercial land, we will take rent from the public. Land reforms लेके आए. They have a proper mentioning of this particular land belongs to this. Now, this is coming from the Mughal era, right? If you understand, if you look at your papers, right? घर के paper होते हैं, the documentation that you have whenever you go to buy a house or a property, you will see there is written 10 bhiga, 11 mala, right? All these words of property, like 10 yards, 100 yards, 120 yards, 26 feet, all these words, terms, mala, bhiga, right? All these are coming from the Mughal area. All they started this thing that was, I want proper control over the land. Okay. So the Mughals came with a public policy where they said कि मुझे land के ऊपर I want a stringent control on how money is generated from land. I want to control that. And that is why they brought land reforms. Then came the British. British brought about a lot of things. They said education policy change कर दो. In terms of historic policy framework, government की policy क्या? When the British were leading India, they changed the education policies, trade policies change किया, लगान, right? You know, taxation, they started the formal taxation. They had revenue collecting officers, income tax officers, all these Rashtrapati Bhavan, all this Parliament House, income tax office, all these things is what they created, a system around. That is how they created the policy for India. Then came Zamindari system, the foreign trade policies. All these things were introduced to the Indian people by British, wherein they were just copying whatever they did in United Kingdom, whatever they did in the Great Britain, And that is how they brought everything here, right? If you look at the name also, they call themselves as the Great Britain, right? So similarly, that is what they brought a lot of systems, a lot of government policies from their system to India about education, trade policy. Now, think about this. Think about this. What is happening? What is happening is as and when the government is changing, ठीक है? Now think about this. ये समझ आ गया हम क्या करें? पहले तक्षशिला, then चाणक्य, then अशोका, then गुप्ता, दिल्ली सल्तनत आए, मुगल्स आए, then ब्रिटिश आए. ब्रिटिश के बाद we became independent. We had Jawaharlal Nehru, right? We had Jawaharlal Nehru, Mahatma Gandhi. We had Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. We had all these people became Prime Minister, President of India. Your Radhakrishnan, Mr. Radhakrishnan, right? Dr. Radhakrishnan, all these people became politicians, the leaders of the country, and then they brought in more systems into place. They started running the country through public policies, having relations with your neighbors, with Pakistan, Bhutan, your Nepal, having those relations with everyone, building a policy around it, helping industries from a more agriculture background country. We started shifting to more industry background. Then in 1990s, we started doing IT services. Now we are one of the biggest IT service exporter in the world, right? Most of the IT export in the world is done by us only, right? So these are the kind of things that these leaders brought in to India, right? Great question, Pranjal. Is ICAI a company? Do you see ICAI Limited anywhere? ICAI is not a company. It's an educational independent organization. It's an institute, right? It's an institute empowered by, empaneled by, and run by the Institute of Chartered Accountants Act. It also has its own act, right? It's not a company. So, because it's not a company, right? That is why it's written set by an act of a parliament. Pranjal, the point is, we are studying something else. Your questions are something else. I would really appreciate if you keep these questions for the end of the session. It breaks a flow of the class, right? Great. Warfare. What is warfare, Priyanka? War क्या होता है? Warfare भी वही होता है, right? Warfare क्या है? How do you prepare your army? How do you prepare your navy? How do you prepare your different forces, right? Armed forces, right? That is what your warfare means, right? See, feudal system. What is feudal system? So feudal system is like a social and political system, right? In which we have a lot of landholders. We have a lot of, they provide tenants. So basically renting your land. Feudal system is basically renting your land for others to work on. जैसे जमींदार होते हैं, right? So big landlords, they give their land on rent. People come, do agriculture activity on it. उनको पैसे देके वो चले जाते हैं. That is called feudal system, right? Great. Now, what happened after India got independence, right? After India got independence, अभी क्या हुआ? यहाँ तक देखो हम ब्रिटिश तक पहुंच गए. Once British left the country, the options available to India were either go for capitalism, number one, or you go for communism, right? Either you go for capitalism or you go for communism. What is capitalism? Capitalism is like US, जहाँ पे everything is based on market forces of demand and supply. Everything is privately owned, right? सब कुछ privately owned है. Companies, organizations, individuals control every business in that country. That is called a capitalism form of economy, right? The other option available to India was communism, like China, right? China में क्या है? China में government controls everything. Even if you have private companies, they have to be they're controlled by the government. Government बताती नहीं आप ठीक कर रहे हो, आप गलत कर रहे हो. This is what you should do. This is wrong. This is right. Government tells everything. नहीं. Price आप इतना ही रख सकते हो. Price इससे ऊपर नहीं रख सकते. Price इसके नीचे नहीं रख सकते. Right? So this is what the government controls. US में ऐसा कुछ नहीं. US में the business decides what it has to do. If a business says I want to charge 10,000 rupees for one plate of dal makhni, we keep it for 10,000 rupees, boss. लोगों को खरीदना, if the consumer wants to buy it for 10,000 from you, they will buy it for 10,000 from you, right? The forces of demand and supply will decide your business. That is capitalism. Communism is जहाँ पे government controls everything, right? Now what happened? Right? What happened is इंडिया कहता है यार कैपिटलिज्म में जाए कम्युनिज्म में जाए बहुत कंफ्यूजन है क्या करूं मैं एक गरीब देश हूं आई एम अ पुअर कंट्री आई जस्ट गॉट इंडिपेंडेंस फ्रॉम द ब्रिटिश आई हैव नो सिस्टम्स इन प्लेस आई हैव अ लॉट ऑफ पुअर पीपल देयर आर नो अपॉर्चुनिटीज आई हैव मिलियंस ऑफ पीपल हाउ डू आई फीड देम हाउ डू आई गिव देम जॉब्स हाउ डू आई ब्रिंग अबाउट स्टेबिलिटी इन माय इकोनॉमी आई वांट टू हैव ग्लोबल रिलेशंस आई वांट टू trade with foreign countries I want to grow as a country I have to feed so many people what do I do? Either I go for capitalism or I go for communism. Now they sat down to think about it, what should be done, and they did a very, very new thing. They did a mixed economy policy, right? वो कहते हमें समझ नहीं आ रहा हम कैपिटलिज्म में जाएं कम्युनिज्म में जाएं कहते कोई बात आप दोनों को मिक्स कर दो you create a mixture of both the things right you keep a communist form of economy you take a capitalist form of economy आप दोनों को मिला दो कुछ हिस्सा some portion of your economy will work as a communist economy other portion of your economy will work like a capitalist economy अभी इससे होगा क्या you will be able to control a lot of core important things for your country while giving a lot of opportunity for many individuals who want to start their business, who want to do their business, who want to grow their business through opportunities that are there in the market, right? You are giving opportunity to the general public to do their business while controlling some very crucial, important industries. For example, India mein railways, right? India mein railway is government owned, right? Your majority Abhi, now we have Adani, Reliance, Tata doing all this Tata Steel, Reliance Petrol, Adani Port, Adani ka petrol, Adani ka land, Adani ka coal mining. Earlier, when India got independent, all this important industry, right? Mining ho gaya, aapka steel ho gaya, we have all these companies. You remember we doing in chapter 3, Coal India, GAIL India, NTPC, LIC, SBI, banking sector भी शुरू तो सरकार का नहीं किया था, right? Banking sector, we had ICICI Bank, we had State Bank of India, which was bought from RBI. 1951 में सरकार ने RBI से खरीद लिया था कि नहीं हम चलाएंगे बैंक, we will do a bank, this will be called our bank for the general public. क्यों कर रहे थे? Why did it do all of this? Because it was a mixed economic policy. Because it was a mixed economic policy कि these industries like railway, like your mining, steel, banking, ships, ports, natural energy, power, electricity, ये सब हर जनता, everyone in the country wanted this, right? That is basic necessity. घर चाहिए, बिजली चाहिए, पानी चाहिए, बैंक चाहिए, right? पैसा कमा के रखोगे कहाँ? बैंक में रखोगे. So they wanted more robust, more controlled things that the poor country of India, that we were poor at that time, right? We are a developing nation right now. We were very poor at that time. We have developed so much right now, right? You and me are studying on a laptop through an internet which has good speed, right? We are sitting at our homes, have food, had 3 times of food. We are a developing nation. We are growing at a very fast pace, right? उस time ये सब नहीं था. सरकार को, the government had to bring all of these things for the general public, and that is why we did this called mixed economy, so that general public के लिए opportunity बने कि भाई आप भी business करो, go out, do businesses, be entrepreneurs, develop something, develop businesses, find opportunity, make your companies, and a lot of people did that, right? Your parents, my parents, all these people have seen that. They were born in 1960s, 1970s, right? Your parents, my parents were born in 1960s and 70s when the government was creating opportunities. They started their business, they started their shops, they started trading, right? They became doctors, or they became lawyers, or they became chartered accountants, or they became pilots, XYZ. They started their wholesale business, they started their retail business. कोई जूते का काम कर रहा है, कोई कपड़े का काम कर रहा है. Someone is doing sari का काम, someone is doing lehenga, someone is doing XYZ, right? All of these opportunities थी क्योंकि mixed economy थी. The government was saying, boss, go out, find an opportunity and do business in the country. Develop the nation. Let us together develop the nation. But हाँ, जो important चीज है, जो सबको चाहिए, the things which are necessary to every individual in the country, I will want to control that initially. In the starting, I will want to control that. So railway, mining, steel, banking, initially they kept to themselves. Now it is opening. Abhi HDFC Bank आ गया, ICICI Bank आ गया, private banks आ रहे, Axis Bank, right? आपका देना बैंक, लेना बैंक, ये बैंक, वो बैंक, येस बैंक, नो बैंक, सब बैंक्स प्राइवेट आ गए. लाइक माइनिंग में रिलायंस, टाटा, अदानी, मानी, मिंटो, दिस, रियो टिंटो, XYZ कंपनीज आर कमिंग इन माइनिंग. स्टील में इतने प्लेयर्स, आरसेलर मित्तल आ गए, टाटा स्टील आ गए, रिलायंस स्टील आ गए. सो ऑल दीज थिंग्स स्टार्टेड ओपनिंग फॉर अदर्स वेरी रिसेंटली. जब इंडिया इंडिपेंडेंट हुआ था तब ये सब नहीं था, राइट? Another classic example of a mixed economy is how do you know a country is a mixed economy? Okay, यहाँ पे देखो, if you go to a government library, you will get a veg thali for 30 rupees. You go to a railway canteen, you will get it for 70. And if you go to a restaurant near your place, you will also get it for 250 rupees. The Indian consumer has all the options. Government ने क्या किया? Subsidy for the poor people who cannot afford. उनके लिए उन्हें 30 रुपीज की भी वेज थाली रखी हुई है देश में. यू हैव द ऑप्शन टू गो टू अ गवर्नमेंट कैंटीन एंड ईट फूड फॉर जस्ट ₹30. रेलवे कैंटीन जाओ, यू कैन ऑल्सो गेट इट फॉर 70 रुपीज. थोड़ा सा अनदर ऑप्शन वेर इन partly subsidized, right? And there are private restaurants like you and me. People like you and me have restaurants and we are doing business. धंधा कर रहे हैं खाने का. And we can also charge 250 rupees, which is based on demand and supply, right? Demand and supply में है. So let's say you live in a locality wherein a lot of rich people live. Let's say you live in a locality where सारे अमीर लोग रहते हैं. So a restaurant in your area can also charge 500 rupees for a thali because people are ready to pay. But if you live in a less affluent area where middle class people live, if the restaurant starts charging 500, कोई नहीं खरीदेगा. उसका business ठप पड़ जाएगा. He will not be able to survive. He or she will not be able to survive their business because it is based on demand and supply. People will not demand things for 500 rupees, तो वो supply कैसे करेगा? He or she will have to reduce the prices to meet the needs of the consumer. That is called, this is called capitalist economy. और ये गवर्नमेंट जो 30 रुपए में दे रहा है इसको बोलते हैं कम्युनिस्ट इकोनॉमी. इंडिया में ये दोनों चीजें मिलती हैं. इन इंडिया यू गेट बोथ ऑफ दीज थिंग्स. दैट इज व्हाई इट इज कॉल्ड अ मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी पॉलिसी. सुपर ग्रेट. Yeah, and your Amma Thali in Tamil Nadu, right? I think that's also a 10, 15, 20 rupee thing in Thali, right? Like air travel. Air travel is also earlier Air India tha. We have a lot of private players, right? तन में आपकी आर्मी अगर प्राइवेट हो गई ना फिर तो हम सब का जीना ही मुश्किल है. आर्मी कौन सी प्राइवेट होती है सर? So if we have a new locker system, तो फिर बैंक पब्लिक बैंक क्यों? Depends. I mean, you have options. देखो, mixed economy. The beautiful part about mixed economy is the government gives you options. You want to travel in a subsidized train, आप train में travel करो. If you want to go in an aeroplane which is like business class, आपको Emirates, right? Emirates की business class में travel करना है. आपके पास पैसे हैं, आप travel कर लो. The government is not controlling your choices. It is just giving you options. Mixed economy is beautiful because the government is not forcing anything. They are saying, boss, we are giving you an option, right? You have the best knowledge about your means. You have the best knowledge about your wallet. आपके पर्स में कितना पैसा है, आपको ज्यादा पता है. You decide. You want to go into a train. आप ट्रेन बुक करोगे, वो ऐसा नहीं कहते नहीं आप ट्रेन नहीं बुक कर सकते. आपके पास तो पैसे हैं, आप ट्रेन नहीं बुक कर सकते. ऐसा नहीं है. The government doesn't say, boss, आप तो इतने अमीर हो, आपका तो 5 करोड़ का बिजनेस है. You are an owner of 5 crore business. You cannot travel in train. The government doesn't say that. It's your choice. It's an open market, right? It's an open market with choices. So similarly, if you want to open in a public account, public bank or a private bank, it's your choice, right? They're just giving you options. Let's say for people who are not so affluent, who do not have resources, जिनके पास ज्यादा resources नहीं है, वो क्या करेंगे? Right? वो तो ट्रेन में ही जाएंगे ना. उनके लिए ऑप्शन रखा हुआ है, right? That is what mixed economy is. See, insurance companies also have their own act. Insurance companies का also we have own act, right? But you tell me, what is a closed economy? इंडिया की क्लोज्ड इकोनॉमी है या ओपन इकोनॉमी? आई गिव यू एन एग्जांपल. ओपन इकोनॉमी है जो बाकी कंट्रीज के साथ ट्रेड करती है. इट इज ओपन टू ट्रेड विद डिफरेंट कंट्रीज, राइट? इट इज कॉल्ड एन ओपन इकोनॉमी. नाउ यू टेल मी that what is an closed economy? इसका उल्टा is a closed economy, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. Correct. Correct. If you want to eat and pizza, you have options. Pizza Hut jao, Domino's jao, Papa John's jao, right? Woody Jones, whatever is near your house, go and do that. That is right. Absolutely. India is an open economy, right? It is an open economy. So, Misha, that is what everyone's family does, right? We also go to the Sasta cafes and Sasta restaurants and thali because that thali is has a different taste altogether. Right? That 10, 15, 20 rupee thali is has a next level of satisfaction. And what you eat at a good restaurant with your friends, like you go to a cafe with your friends, that bloody pasta, like that pasta ka plate, the 2 spoons of pasta and they charge 500 rupees. So you have to give it, right? I mean, you are with your friends, you think कि चलो ठीक है खर्च लेते हैं. You just give 2 spoons of pasta and they charge 500 rupees. देना पड़ता है, right? Demand and supply, that is what they're charging. You are there by your choice. That restaurant owner says, boss, I will charge 500. You can afford, come and sit and eat. You cannot afford, please don't come, right? Simple है. Right, a closed economy is where international trade is restricted. Right? It's a closed economy. जैसे चाइना है. चाइना में भी you do not have Google, you do not have Facebook, you do not have WhatsApp. You do not allow other companies to come into China, right? They do not allow other companies to come and work in China. They always say, boss, हमारी company हमारा ही काम करे, right? That is what China does. Great. Quickly, let us see some of the basis of comparison between your policy regime of the mid 50s and the policy regime since 1990s. Okay. Now, evident nature of economic system. ये क्या है? This is India when it got independent. Let me write India in 1950. Okay. India 1950s में, and this is your India in let's say 1990s. Okay. How did things change is what we'll study now. Things change कैसे हुए? When it started, a lot of the companies were public sector. Like I was telling you, steel, banking, mining, all this was in the hands of the government. Since 1990s, 1990s से, we are a very hardcore mixed economy. We are still like socialistic economy. क्यों लिखा है? Heavy. ज्यादातर चीजें गवर्नमेंट करती थी, but slowly and steadily it became a hardcore mixed economy. जहाँ पे we today have private banks, we have private mining companies, we have private steel companies, we have a lot of private companies doing a lot of private stuff, right? We have all of that, right? A lot of private companies doing a lot of private stuff is what we have in the current times, right? Let me see if we have any questions. Okay, cool. Second is dominant instrument of economic governance is economic planning and market mechanism. What does this mean? This means government decided a lot of things. पहले government बहुत कुछ decide करती थी. यहाँ पे a lot of things were decided by the market, right? The market decided a lot of things. Here the government decided a lot of things. Here the market decided a lot of things, right? Openness. It was a closed economy. शुरू में we did not allow a lot of foreign companies to come into India. And 1990s में we opened up, right? We opened up our economy wherein a lot of more companies started coming into India. Facebook आया, Microsoft आया. Facebook तो खैर 2008 में ही बना. But a lot of companies, you see, Microsoft जैसे companies आनी शुरू हुई, a lot of foreign companies, they started building up, like Hyundai, Honda, all these car manufacturers started coming into our country, right? And this American Express started coming, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, all these big investment banks started investing money in India in 1990s. We became an open economy, right? We became an open economy. Cool. Then role of government in the business. Role of government in the business क्या है? Acquiring commanding heights. That means the government was controlling a lot of things initially क्योंकि हम नए थे बहुत देश में. But then privatization of public sector undertaking started happening. Right? Privatization होना शुरू हो गया. इसके बारे में we'll study अभी आगे. Right? Government of role versus private business, regulation and control, liberalization. That means पहले गवर्नमेंट बहुत स्ट्रिक्ट थी, ये करो वो करो देश बढ़ाने के. द गवर्नमेंट यूज्ड टू टेल अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स टू द बिजनेसेस दैट यू शुड डू दिस, यू शुड डू दैट फॉर द बेटरमेंट ऑफ द कंट्री. बट लेटर दे स्टार्टेड डूइंग लिबरलाइजेशन. लिबरलाइजेशन मींस दे बिकेम लीनिएंट, लेस स्ट्रिक्ट. दे सेड नहीं, आपको जो ठीक लग रहा है आप करो, बट डू इट फॉर द कंट्री, डू इट फॉर द बेटरमेंट ऑफ द, वी विल सपोर्ट यू थ्रू पॉलिसीज, थ्रू लाइक टैक्स कम कर देंगे, एसईजीज में देंगे, विल गिव यू सब्सिडी ऑन रेंट, we'll give you subsidy on electricity, we'll give you subsidy on water. You develop businesses. They became liberalized, right? Liberalization आ गई, थोड़ा strictness कम हो गई. Liberalization means being less strict, being more open, right? So if your father or mother used to scold you or used to dantify you a lot in बचपन, but now as you become older, they say नहीं, आपको जो ठीक लग रहा है आप कर लो, take your decisions yourself. They are becoming liberal. They are becoming liberal. थोड़ा स्ट्रिक्ट कम होते जा रहे. That is called liberalization, right? We'll come to that. What is privatization? समीर, सब एक ही प्राइस पे क्यों नहीं बेच सकते? बिकॉज उसकी क्वालिटी अच्छी होगी, उसकी क्वांटिटी अच्छी होगी, राइट? सो दैट इज व्हाट डिमांड एंड सप्लाई इज. If you understand economics, that is what demand and supply is. So let's say if I start charging for these classes and I say, nahi, I will charge 20,000 rupees, right? And there is someone else who says, I will teach you in 5,000 rupees. Syllabus to same hai. Syllabus to same hai. वो भी study material से पढ़ाएंगे. I am also teaching you from study material, but I'll charge 20,000 and that other person says they'll charge 5,000, right? किसकी classes लोगे आप? Depends on you. It's an option on you. It's an open market. The consumer will decide who he or she wants to pay the money to. Right? Simple logic. Cool. Let me check some questions. So what is neoliberal system? Where did you read that, Bhumika? Tell me. Give me a sentence. Right, Priyanka, you'll go for 5,000, right? Absolutely. See, it depends on the consumer how much you want to pay for a particular class or for a particular anything that is there in the market. That is open market. That is privatization. That is demand and supply. That exactly is demand and supply. Okay. Cool. Let us understand from a business perspective, right? अब जब government is making a policy or the government is changing a policy, how does a business identify? What does a business do with that? Simple. Business has to either identify an opportunity or a threat. या तो business कहेगा this is an opportunity for me, or it will say that boss, this is a threat to me. Either this is an opportunity or this is a threat to me, right? It is either an opportunity or it is a threat. या तो policy change हो रही है, So it becomes either an opportunity or it becomes a threat. That is the only thing that the government has to identify whenever the government is changing a policy, bringing a new policy, or doing something around the policy with the country. They have to identify whether this policy is going to be an opportunity for me or is it going to be a threat for me, right? And based on that, they will have to take their decision. Based on that, they have to take their decision that what they want to do, right? Agar opportunity hai, they will make money from that opportunity. If it is a threat, they have to safeguard themselves from that threat, right? Liberalization means entry and growth, restricting the competition, increasing the competition, right? Liberalization से तो वही होगा. If socialism is considered to be failed cause of many, then why do nations like China prefer socialist economy? Kushagra, because they want to control a lot of things, right? There is something called control freak. There is something called controlling. जो कंट्रोल करने की क्षमता है, the control, the power, the what do I say, the drug of controlling things is very, very strong. Right? So they want to control everything. They want to say everything will go through my review. That is how they want to manage their country. Simple. Do not find logics in that. Probably that is how their leadership or how their system works. Right? That is how their system works. अभी you will say यार why are government companies so slow? MCD इतना slow क्यों? MCD काम क्यों नहीं करते? Why does my municipal corporation don't work? That is how the system is. Somebody has to change that, right? We should strive to change that, but that is how things are, right? Similarly, socialists, that is what they think is right. They think if everything the government controls, it is in the best favor of the country, and that is what the Chinese people also think. That if everything is controlled by the government, I have selected the government, it is my government, it will do the best for my country. Whatever decision they take will be the best, so let them control everything. That is how their system works. Right? Okay, so Bhumika, what neoliberalism means is basically a free privatization economy, which say neoliberalism means बहुत ज़्यादा lenient. It is not strict at all. Liberalization means that the government is extremely helpful, supportive of people, right? So if your parents are very supportive of your decisions, they're like, beta aap jo karna chahte ho karo, it's absolutely right. It's your life. Go live your life, but be wise. Do the right things, but do it in your way that you want to do. We will support you. We are there for you. Whatever decisions you take, we're there for you. That is called neoliberalism, right? Ekdam free hand de dena so that people decide what is best for them. That is called neoliberalism, right? Great. Let me see any questions. Otherwise, we will go to this thing, right? Spectre of government policies. Got it. Privatization refers to transfer of ownership. We'll come to that. इतनी जल्दी क्या है, right? You want to be ahead of me in the session, right? आ रहे privatization पे आ रहे शांति, right? Okay, so let us understand the specter of government policies for business, right? Economic policies, they can be 2 or 3 types. What I'll tell you, macroeconomic. हमने macroeconomic में, you remember we studied about fiscal policy and we studied about monetary policy. पढ़ा था, right? Say yes or no, please. In macroeconomic factors, government policy factors, economic government factors, external factors, macro के अंदर economic factors के अंदर we studied fiscal policy and monetary policy. Yes or no? We studied this. Chandrika, liberalization and neoliberalization is like I am a good parent and the best parent. That is what the difference is, right? A good parent is they control a few things, but they give free hand in a lot of other things. Neoliberalism is like एकदम छूट दे देना, right? एकदम छूट दे देना. It's like you favor the free market approach. It's like neoliberalism is like capitalist economy, but thoda sa usse kam. So there is communist economy, communism, there is mixed economy, then there is आपका capitalist economy, right? Now communism से आप जब mixed economy आते हो तो आप थोड़े से lenient हो जाते हो. कुछ चीजें छोड़ के आप आ जाते हो mixed में. मिक्स से कुछ चीजें छोड़ के आप आ जाते हो नियो लिबरलिज्म में, वहां से बिल्कुल ही छोड़ के आप पहुंच जाते हो कैपिटलिज्म में. दैट इज हाउ यू डिफाइन. यहाँ पे कम्युनिस्ट है, इसमें से कुछ सम थिंग्स लाइक देयर इज कम्युनिज्म, कम्युनिस्ट इकोनॉमी wherein everything controlled by government. You do some portion is given to the private sector, some portion is controlled by you. It becomes a mixed economy, right? यहाँ पे mixed economy के लिए you become liberalized. From mixed economy आप थोड़ा सा liberalized हो जाते. This is liberalization. Then you remove more control of the government and थोड़ा और जाके you give more control to the private people. It is called neoliberalism, right? And finally, then सब कुछ is with the private people. सब कुछ is with the private people. It is called capitalist economy, like USA, right? So this is how it is. यहाँ पे neoliberalism आता है. Okay. Talking about fiscal and monetary policy, we have studied this, right? Fiscal and monetary policy, we have studied this, right? Absolutely, we have studied this. Let us talk about sectoral management. अभी इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसीज फिस्कल हो सकती है, मॉनेटरी हो सकती है. नाउ व्हेन दे आर वेरी फोकस्ड, कोई भी पॉलिसी अगर एग्रीकल्चर से रिलेटेड है, लाइक वी हैड एग्रीकल्चर 3 लॉज, 3 फार्म लॉज, एग्रीकल्चर पॉलिसी, इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी लाइक एसईजीज बना देते हैं, और वी शुड स्पेंड मोर ऑन लेट्स से एमएसएमईज, माइक्रो स्मॉल एंड मीडियम एंटरप्राइजेस, right? We should spend more money. We should give free loans. We should give 5 lakh रुपए का मुद्रा loans. There are schemes called mudra loans or free loans or women entrepreneurs. So let us go and push women entrepreneurs in India. We want more women to participate in businesses. Industrial policy, boss. Industrial policy. That is what the government does. Foreign trade and investment policy, FDI, foreign direct investments से related policies that the government makes, that would fall under foreign trade and investment policy. FDI से related, exports से related to import. If any policy is developed or corrected or changed, it will form under sectoral management of economic policies, right? Agriculture related, industry related, or in foreign or export import related. It is just the grouping of the policies. And this is called specter of policy. Specter means the kind of policies, the types of policies, the different ways, the different types of policies that the government can bring about for businesses. That the government can bring about for businesses. Simple. Simple. Right? Class 12th में सब कुछ किया बॉस. Class 12th में तो सब कुछ किया हमने. We just don't remember. 11th and 12th में BST में सब कुछ किया. Fiscal policy, public expenditure, taxation and public debt. Monetary more related to supply of credit, money, पैसा. Note कितने हैं economy, that is monetary. Absolutely. Is communism and socialism same? Yes. Absolutely. एकदम same ही है. To understand better, they are the same. Okay. Socialism, communism क्या होता है? Right? You know, Karl Marx नाम सुना हुआ है? कार्ल मार्क्स था एक आदमी. कार्ल मार्क्स, Marxist parties, Karl Marx was the guy, right? All this is communism. What he said was, अमीरों से लो, गरीबों को दो, right? Take from the rich and spread it to the poor so that the economy is balanced, right? That is called communism. That is called socialism, right? कि गरीबों को पैसा बांटो. Take from the rich and put it in the hands of the poor. There should be equality. That is, if you look at the political scenario of India, we have certain parties which still focus on communism, socialism, like Communist Party of India, CPI, right? Then in more in your eastern part of India, we have a lot of communist parties, wherein they feel that the government should take from the rich, tax more, take money from the rich, and spread it to the poor people. Right? While in the western part of our India, it's more of a capitalist economy, like Gujarat and Maharashtra. These places are more on the capitalist mindset. They कहते नहीं, everyone should do business, everyone should earn money through their capacity, through their opportunity. सबके लिए opportunity equal है. आप जाओ काम करो. Right? Different mindsets. That is what India is all about. Different mindsets in a one place. तभी इतना सारा झगड़ा है. I like Robin Hood. Right? From a business class, this has become an economy class. This has become more like a political. But I'm enjoying it. I hope you guys are also enjoying it. I think it's one of the very important things as citizens of India, as people, general knowledge. This is something that we should know, right, about the country. Is भाई economy चलती कैसे है क्या चीज है, right? Hey Naveen, you are coming back with a lot of economy, right? आपको civics पढ़ने का मन हो गया, I think. Absolutely. Friedrich Engels also worked in the labors and capitalism. That is right, Manisha. Great knowledge there. Great knowledge. Cool. Let us move on to the next topic. वरना तो इसमें फंस जाएंगे. And this is a very, very, very long topic. Question on the screen, boys and girls. A quick quiz for you guys. Read this statement carefully and answer. Read the statement very carefully and answer this for me, please. Stimulus package for MSM. अभी English का भी test है. Stimulus package क्या होता है? Find out what is stimulus package, right? Very basic English words, vocabulary you should be focusing on. Exam नहीं, general जिंदगी के लिए, right? Hello Siddharth, how are you? Have you joined late? Absolutely. If you give direct money to the people, inflation will rise. Absolutely. People तो लोग तो आलसी हो जाएंगे. People will become lazy. आपको घर बैठे पैसा मिलता रहे, काम कौन करेगा? Question is on the screen, boys and girls. I want you to answer, please. Okay. The correct answer is why? 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 ये कैसे हो गया? फिस्कल पॉलिसी कैसे हो गया सर? मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी बताया, सेक्टोरल पॉलिसी बताया आपने हमें अभी, राइट? स्टिमुलस पैकेज क्या है? व्हाई विल इट फॉल इन द फिस्कल पॉलिसी? टेल मी व्हाई विल इट नॉट फॉल इन द सेक्टोरल पॉलिसी? मैं आपको पहले बताता हूँ, राइट? अभी आई गेव यू एन एग्जांपल एंड यू गॉट कंफ्यूज्ड. अरे सेक्टोरल पॉलिसी के अंदर यहाँ पे इंडस्ट्रियल में एमएसएमई आ रहा है. अभी तो आपने बताया, दिस इज व्हाट यू टोल्ड अस. नाउ यू आर सेइंग कि नहीं सेक्टोरल नहीं तो फिस्कल पॉलिसी है. व्हाई आर यू डूइंग दिस टू अस? बिकॉज सर सेक्टोरल पॉलिसी में मैंने लिखा क्या? इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी. विच सेक्टोरल पॉलिसी? डू नॉट गो बाय जस्ट द ऑप्शन. इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी लिखता अगर मैं, देन यू वुड हैव सिलेक्टेड इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी. जनरली इट इज कोई सेक्टोरल पॉलिसी करके कोई पॉलिसी नहीं. There is no policy called sectoral policy. There has to be a name to that sectoral policy, right? There's a fiscal policy tells about expenditure, tells about public debt, tells about expenditure. Stimulus package of MSMEs is an expenditure of the government, right? सरकार का खर्चा है. That is fiscal policy. That is fiscal expenditure of the government. Sectoral में there will always be mentioned industrial है, agriculture है या foreign trade है. Only then answer sectoral, right? Do not get confused with the options, right? It's a fiscal policy. It's a fiscal policy. When I talk about an expenditure of the government, it's an expenditure of the government, right? Exam में तो भाजी पाव हो जाएगा दिमाग का. It will get confused, and this is why we are doing practice. This is why we are doing practice. Right? The entire idea of practicing right here is this only, right? Your answers are visible, Shiva. I can see your answers, right? Stimulus packages include tax rebates. They include subsidies. Absolutely. Stimulus packages include tax rebates, better interest rates, lesser loans, sasta loans, cheaper loans, more subsidies. All this is stimulus package. Stimulus package है, पूरा पैकेज है. इसमें टैक्स कम मिलता है, सब्सिडी मिलता है, cheaper loans you get. It's a fiscal policy. It's an expenditure. It's an expenditure on the people, on the businesses of India by the government, right? So it's a fiscal policy, right? Wonderful. Good that you guys understood. Yes, Abhi, what we study is, so when I say India is a developing nation, or if I say USA is a developed nation, or if I say India is better than Pakistan in economic standards, or let's say Africa is a developing continent, or some African country, let's say Tanzania is a developing nation, Bangladesh is a developing nation, or let's say China is almost a developed nation by now. It's touching that level of developed nation. Uski economy developed hai. How do you define that? How do you know it is a developed or it's not a developed nation? Or is it a developing nation? Or is it a poor country? How do you define that? Ki poor country hai, developing hai ya developed hai? There are certain indicators. That tell you this, right? Those indicators are GDP, inflation, tax rate, interest rate, and exchange rate. Simple, right? These things will tell you कि country grow कर रही है या नीचे जा रही है. India is growing या धड़ाम से नीचे गिर के जा रही है. India is growing or is it falling? In any country, like we'll take example of India only, but for per se any country in the world, if you have to understand if it's a growing country, a poor country, or a developed country, you can check these 5 things. And you'll get to know कि अच्छा ये grow कर रही है, ये stagnant है, or is it a developing nation? How does it help that? Okay, now think about this. If the GDP is rising, GDP is gross domestic product. Gross domestic product is value of all the finished goods and services that are produced in a country. पूरे देश की मेहनत की valuation. It is the value of the hard work of every single person in that country. उसकी एक value है. If उस value को हम बोलते हैं GDP. It's the value of all the finished goods and services produced, right? अच्छा, I'll tell you an interesting fact also. यहीं से याद आया मुझे. USA and India का, I will give you an example. Okay, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but let me just tell you. Very important thing is USA is a capitalist economy, right? India is a mixed economy. ये हम सबको पता है, right? Now, tell me one thing, okay? India में there is a concept called MRP, right? India में ना आप सामान खरीदते हो तो there is a concept called MRP, maximum retail price. You buy a chips का packet, you buy a biscuits का packet, कोई नमकीन खरीदते हो, you buy anything in India, कुछ भी packaged. If you खरीदो, it's written MRP 10, right? Biscuits MRP 5, let's say, right? MRP 5 rupees. This concept of MRP is called maximum retail price. Okay, you cannot sell above this. This is the maximum price that you can keep for your product, right? This is the maximum price that the retailer can charge from the consumer, right? This is the maximum price. USA में MRP जैसा कोई concept ही नहीं. You buy the same chips का packet in USA, ठीक है? You go to USA, you go and buy that same chips का packet. अब लेज का पैकेट जाके USA में खरीदो, उसके ऊपर एमआरपी नहीं होगी. देयर इज नो एमआरपी कॉन्सेप्ट इन यूएसए, राइट? USA is a capitalist economy. They say you go to a shop which is, let's say, called store number A, you go to store number B, you go to store number C. ये लेज का पैकेट, if you go in India to shop number A, shop number B, shop number C, the maximum retail price everywhere is 10 rupees for that lays का पैकेट. You go to USA, store number A, store number B, store number C, the same lays का पैकेट यहाँ पे 9 rupees का होगा, यहाँ पे 11 का होगा और यहाँ पे 13 का भी हो सकता है. There is no maximum price. There is no maximum price concept. They are fully capitalist economy. आपको जो प्राइस चार्ज करना है आप करो, लोग खरीदेंगे. If the person wants to buy from your shop and if they are okay in paying the price, let them pay the price, right? Or if you want, it's a competitive. अब देखो क्या होगा. It is for 9 rupees. It is for 13. अब क्या होगा? People will think यार A पे तो 9 rupees का मिलता है. Let us go to A. A will start growing. Then C will say, यार my business is flopping, let me also keep it for 9 rupees. अपने आप प्राइस नीचे आ गया, अपने आप प्राइस नीचे आ गया. This is how demand and supply works. अपने आप प्राइस ये भी 9 rupees कर देगा. Now B will say, यार these two are growing, I am at 11 rupees, no one is buying, let me keep 9 rupees. अपने आप ही प्राइस सबका 9 रुपए हो जाएगा, राइट? और जब फाइट शुरू हो जाएगी, this will do 8.5, this will do 8, this will do then 7.9, right? ऐसे फाइट चलती रहेगी and the consumer will always win. Consumer को तो benefit है ना. If the prices are dropping, it is the benefit of the consumer. This is what a capitalist economy does. This is a free competition. It is called free competition, right? Just out of context, just to give you an example through real life thing, what happens in the world. USA में ये हो रहा है, इंडिया में ऐसा होता है, right? Okay. The second thing is your inflation. Inflation, if it's moderate, that means demand and profit expectations are high. Developing nations में, in a developing nation, in a developing country, inflation is a good sign. Okay, if there is inflation, that means अगर inflation है, that means it's a good thing. It's a good thing for the economy, right? Why? Because the prices are rising. If the prices are rising, inflation का मतलब है prices are rising, right? If the prices are rising, that means the income of the people are rising. जब प्राइस बढ़ेगा तो लोगों की इनकम भी तो बढ़ रही है. जब इनकम बढ़ रही है तो जीडीपी बढ़ रही है. जब जीडीपी बढ़ रही है तो जीडीपी राइजिंग इज ए गुड इकोनॉमिक ऑप्टिमिज्म थिंग. सिंपल, राइट? बट अगर इन्फ्लेशन राइजेस आउट ऑफ कंट्रोल, इफ इट इज मॉडरेट, दैट मीन्स ठीक है, नॉर्मल तरीके से बढ़ रहा है, इट्स ओके. ये ऐसे बढ़ना शुरू हो गया, स्काई रॉकेट हो गया, देन इट इज अ प्रॉब्लम. देन दैट मीन्स प्राइसेस आर राइजिंग वेरी क्विक एंड द पीपल आर नॉट एबल टू बाय थिंग्स. बहुत महंगा हो गया. लाइक यू सी अनियंस, दे बिकम 120, 130 रुपीज. कोई खरीद ही नहीं सकता. आम आदमी, where will the general public buy onions from? That is very high inflation. But if it is moderate, आज 30 रुपीज के है, next year 35 रुपीज के, then next year 40 रुपीज के, then next year 45 रुपीज के, and then they became stable. कि अब 45 रुपीज के ही मिलते पूरे इंडिया में, right? That means the prices increase because your income also increased. आप पहले 30 रुपीज के खरीद सकते थे, now you can also buy for 35, now you can also buy for 40 rupees. Because you were earning 30,000, now you earn 40,000, next year you earn 50,000. So your money is also increasing. The prices are also increasing, but in a smaller fashion. That is why inflation is good if it is increasing moderately, right? Taxation. Lower the taxation, more incentive for the investors to come into India. अगर टैक्स कम होगा तो ज्यादा लोग आएंगे आपकी कंट्री में पैसा लगाने, right? That is why lower tax is beneficial to get more money from the foreign. Interest rate. If the interest rate is lower, that means lower cost of funds. That means loan सस्ता मिलेगा. The loans will be cheaper. When the loans are cheaper, there will be more money. People will take more loans to spend more or to develop more businesses, right? Exchange rate, foreign exchange rate, 75 rupees per dollar. इंडिया का रेट चल रहा है अभी, INR रुपी का रेट. If it becomes 70 rupees per dollar, it's a good sign. It's a good sign. If it becomes 80 rupees, ये 80 rupees हो जाता है, then it is a bad sign. Because for the same dollars, you are paying more money. For the same dollar, now you are paying less money, right? So prices, if they're falling, if the foreign exchange rate is falling, then it is good. If it is rising, then it is a stressful thing for the country. If it is moderate, that means protection for domestic production, incentives for exports, right? एक्सपोर्टर को बड़ा फायदा होता है. आज 71 रुपीज का है, कल 72 रुपीज का हो गया. सो एक्सपोर्टर विल से यार मेरे लिए तो फायदा है बिकॉज आई एम गेटिंग $1, राइट? इफ आई हैव टू सेल राइस एट लेट्स से $1 per kilo, राइट? आज 71 रुपीज मिलते हैं, कल द प्राइस इंक्रीज टू 72 per dollar, I will get 72 rupees because I am to selling for $1 only. Now the rupees rate has changed, मेरा तो benefit है, right? So if the exchange rate rises, it's an incentive for exporters, right? These are certain indicators, these are certain things that you guys can actually look into and understand. If you have to understand the policy indicators of a particular country, right? Simple, बहुत simple है. Any questions so far? Then why compare GDP? Because GDP ही तो है. See, your economic policy will tell you आपकी economic policy सही है या नहीं. GDP से क्या पता चलेगा, right? If I'm comparing so China versus India, अभी China is communism पे, India is in mixed economy. You will say यार why are you comparing them? ये तो system ही अलग है. ये तभी all these things are there to compare only. All these, क्या चाइना कम्युनिज्म करके भी, is China even growing in GDP by doing communism? Yes, China is ahead of us. उनकी GDP is 5 times our GDP. It is going to be 5 times our GDP. बहुत ज्यादा उनकी GDP है हमसे, right? Now it is good for them, but India की GDP is also growing. तो ये system is also working for us. Communism is working for them. Mixed economy is working for us. How do you check that? By checking the GDP, inflation, tax, interest and exchange. China में tax rate बहुत ज़्यादा है, but still they are growing, but still they are developing. That is helping them. That is absolutely okay for them. वो ऐसे ही काम करते हैं, right? So this is used for comparison कि भाई उनका system ठीक है कि नहीं? Is it helping or not? So let's say India identifies कि boss मेरा GDP is falling. I should move from a mixed economy to a capitalist economy. If I move from a mixed economy to a capitalist economy, my GDP will rise 2 times. Then they will change the system. वही कर रहा है India. India is going towards capitalism. LIC का IPO आ रहा है. Railways is going to become a little bit private. All the banks have become private. Insurance companies are becoming private. Steel, industries, construction, cement, सब कुछ private होता जा रहा है. We are moving towards the capitalist economy, right? Is share market condition also measure of growth, which is a very wrong thing to do, right? See, share market की growth से ना, a lot of people say कि भाई share market बढ़ रही है, that means the country is growing, which I think is a flawed concept. Because अभी समझो क्यों? Very good. आप CA हो, you should know all of this. I don't know if a lot of other teachers will teach you or not, but let me just tell you, it's a free knowledge thing, right? Syllabus से कुछ नहीं, but understand this. Very important for your future life. Nifty क्या था? Nifty was top 50 companies, ठीक है ना? Top 50 companies was Nifty. Now you say Nifty is growing. Nifty तो 2% grow कर गया आज. The top 50 companies are not defining my GDP. These top 50 companies might be contributing, let's say 20% to the GDP. Okay. These top 50 companies might be contributing 20% to the GDP and they grew by 2%. But they did not grow by 2%. Unka their share price grew by 2%. The company did not grow by 2%. Uska share price grew by 2%. Share price is based on a lot of sentiments. आज लोगों को लग रहा है कि 10 साल बाद ये कंपनी बहुत बड़ी हो जाएगी, चलो शेयर खरीदते हैं. हो जाएगी. It is based on assumptions. GDP is not based on assumptions. GDP तो actual में कितना grow हुआ है, right? That is why if you see कि share market बढ़ रही है तो चलो country भी बढ़ रही है. Flawed concept for me, right? That is what I think. it might give you some picture कि अच्छा चलो कुछ अच्छा हो रहा है देश में, but it doesn't mean कि देश बढ़ रहा है. अगले दिन शेयर मार्केट गिर गई तो क्या देश गिर गया? That doesn't happen, right? So if the share market falls by 5% the next day, जो कि आजकल हो रहा है due to war, this doesn't mean that the India is now a poor country. एक दिन में गरीब हो गई, एक दिन में अमीर हो गई, ऐसा थोड़ा ना होता है, right? So you can track this, but this does not actually give you the right picture, right? चाइना जैसे काम करता है, क्या इंडिया उसके काम को नहीं कर सकता क्या? समीर, absolutely, absolutely. I want to say this. You go and become a politician, right? You should go and try this. And I'm pretty sure India cannot function like China because we are very different economy. We are very different people from what China is. So that wouldn't work for us. आपको, if your father tells you कि भाई जाके कूड़ा बाहर रख के आ, like our culture is, हम लोग को गुस्सा आ जाता है, यार हमें काम क्यों दे रहे हो? Why are you controlling my life? I am adult now. Why are you controlling my life? चाइना में everything is controlled by the government, right? आप कुछ भी काम करने जाओगे, the government says, बेटा इधर आओ. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? थोड़ा give us this tax. You cannot do this. You cannot do that. We are so controlled. If you're okay with it, your country will go. But I think as Indian economy, we are not ready for that. Chalo, awesome. If the concept is clear, great, Ganesh. Great, Nikhil. Correct. GDP is basically your absolute, the real figure, and your share market is more on your assumptions and sentiments, right? मुझे लगता है कल टाटा बहुत बड़ी हो जाएगी, so let me go and buy a share. I believe that, let's say, HUL will be 2 times its current size in the next 3 years. Let me go and buy it. Even HUL doesn't know if it will be 2 times or not. आपको घर बैठे पता है, right? So Ankit, we'll come to that. I want to complete the syllabus, yeah. Otherwise, I will keep answering. I also love answering these questions. And I'll keep answering and we'll miss out on... We'll take this up class ke baad mein. 1 minute, 2 minutes, whenever I will take this question. Okay. Let us quickly go to policy formulation and impact transmission. How does a government create a policy? Very quickly, 2 minutes में समझते हैं, बहुत छोटा है. Policy context, policy content, institutions, instruments, and market participation. Right? What is happening here? Think about this. जब सरकार, when the government sits down to think कि चलो कुछ policy बनाते हैं, let us take, I want women empowerment. Okay? Now, think about this. Now the government thinks, I want women empowerment. I want more women to participate. I want more women to take part in the economy. I want more women to be involved in the businesses. What do you do? What should you do? Right? क्या करते हैं? Policy context. ये policy बनानी क्यों है? ये policy बनानी क्यों है? The context. I want women empowerment. Okay? I'm just giving you an example. The government wants women empowerment and they create, the policy context is clear. Why do you want to create it? Write down somewhere for your notes if you want to. Policy context is why do you want to create or why do you want to change this policy is policy context. Because I want women empowerment, that is why I want to create this new policy. Policy context is clear. Policy content, ठीक है? I want to bring about women empowerment, but how? क्या करूंगा उसके लिए? What will I do for it? Policy content. Policy content. इसके लिए क्या करूंगा? I will give subsidy to women entrepreneurs. I will give cheaper loans, सस्ता loans to women entrepreneurs. I will give education, free education loan to women who want to study. I will open a job portal. I will open a job portal for women who want to work in industries. I will give more engineering jobs to women. I will give more computer science jobs to women. That is policy content. Because of all this, I will be able to achieve my policy context. मैं करना क्यों चाहता हूँ और मैं कैसे करूँगा? That is how the government will do this policy content. What it does is, then it goes to the institutions. Okay. Then it goes to the institutions. Institutions like big think tanks, जैसे नीति आयोग. Okay. It will go to नीति आयोग. It will go to RBI. It will go to industry like FICCI. commerce, like Federation of Commerce and Industry. It will go to FICCI. Then it will go to big think tank. It will go to World Bank. It will go to UNICEF. It will go to United Nations. It will go to UNICEF, and they will ask, what all other things apart from this I can do in my country? What are the things I should do? Let us all come together and think. Right? It will go to the institutions because they have more experience about public policy. These organizations have a lot more knowledge, have a lot more resources. They have much more knowledge about all these things. So ये उनके पास जाते हैं government and ask them, what more can we do? Are we doing the right thing? What more thing can we do? Are we doing the right thing? Will it give me the desired results or not? Please help me. Please guide me. That is institutions. Then it creates instruments. Right? Instruments क्या है? Like job portal बनाएंगे तो job portal बनाओ. Education loan सस्ता करेंगे. Interest rate नीचे गिरा दो. Instruments are like these things in actual action are instruments. So policy content का actual execution is instruments. Your policy content का actual function action is your instruments. Reducing interest rates, giving more opportunities, creating a job portal, pushing industries. So what instrument can be? Instrument is, let's say I am government and I tell the companies, all the companies in India, if you have 50% of women in your company as employees, I will give you 2% tax rebate. Okay? Kalko, if the government says that if your company has around 50% women as employees, and that you can show that through data, you show that you fill up forms, and we check that. And if it is true, I will give you 2%. So your current tax rate is 24%. Your current tax rate will become 22%. I will give you 2% benefit if you give more jobs to women. It's an instrument. It's an instrument to achieve the policy content and the context. The instrument hai, right? So the actual action taken by the government is called an instrument. And finally, market participation. अभी सरकार ने क्या बोला कंपनीज को? You give 50% of jobs to women. Now market participants are all the businesses. अब business क्या बोलता है? ठीक है boss. Government, what you're saying, I agree to it. I totally understand what you're saying. I will give jobs to women, but there are not enough women who are doing computer science. There aren't enough women in engineering. I am more of an engineering company. I want more women to first get like education of engineering or a computer science or a chartered accountant or a financial. I want more girls. I want more women to study the higher professional services or higher professional examinations, right? The government says, boss, okay, so let us go back. They get a feedback from market participants, right? Businesses उनको बताते हैं प्रॉब्लम क्या है. ये जो आप कर रहे हो ये बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हो. Whatever you are thinking, government, you're doing excellent. We agree to it. But there is a problem. There is a problem also. If you solve that problem, we are happy to do that. If you solve that problem, we are happy to do that, right? This is what market participants does. They give feedback. They feedback देते हैं कि बॉस ये आप करो, अगर आप ये कर दोगे तो बॉस हम आपकी पॉलिसी मानने के लिए तैयार हैं, right? This is what the entire process of policy formulation is. Real-time and post-implementation feedback. Real-time and post-implementation feedback enables further calibration to better serve the purpose. That means, एक बार policy बन जाती है, they are taking real time. See, market participants से, institutions से, they are taking feedback, right? क्या हम सही कर रहे हैं? क्या problem आएगी? Can we do this? Can we do that? They are taking a real time feedback, right? After implementation also, after they have done everything, इसके बाद भी they have to continuously take feedbacks कि जो हमने सोचा था वो हो रहा है या नहीं. Are we achieving what we had designed? That is also what they have to do, right? But your policy content is how you want to achieve what you want to do in policy context, right? अब क्या plan क्या है आपका? Policy context को करने के लिए what is your plan? कैसे करोगे? How will you do it? Is your policy content, right? Any questions, boys and girls? Any questions? Great. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Crystal clear. Awesome. Awesome. No doubt. No doubt. Institution like all the think tanks like आपका RBI or World Bank, all these big institutions, think tanks. This is what it is, right? So probably the government goes to these institutions and asks, boss जो हम कर रहे हैं वो ठीक कर रहे हैं या नहीं, क्या ये काम करेगा या नहीं? That is what institution is. चलो, cool. Instrument मैंने बताया, how do you achieve your content is through instruments, right? Real action of the content is your instrument. Let us go to the next question very quickly. फटाफट से solve करेंगे and then we will go to the next slide. आगे की स्लाइड्स बहुत फटाफट से करेंगे क्योंकि बहुत सिंपल है, राइट? इसके बाद तो बहुत सिंपल है सब कुछ. Question is on the screen. Question is on the screen. Tell me what is the answer. Policy content is same as instrument? No. Policy content is your plan. Policy instrument is your real action on that plan. Policy content is your plan. कि आप करोगे कैसे? How will you do that? Policy instrument is actual action. आप ये कर रहे हो, आप ये करोगे to achieve that plan. That is what your instrument is, right? Market participants, all the businesses are market participants. They tell you कि नहीं आप जो policy बना रहे हो, that is absolutely right, but this is the problem. This is what we will face as a problem, right? Classic example है GST. GST में सरकार कहती है कि we are changing the rate from 5% to 18%, 18% to let's say 12%. Market participants are all the businesses. They come back and say, boss, धंधा ही नहीं चलेगा. We will not be able to do business. इतना heavy GST you have put from 5% to 18%. We will lose a lot of business. Please take it back. That is market participants, right? All the businesses. Question is on the screen. Let us see. Policy instrument. समझ तो गए, और क्या चाहिए? समझ तो आ गया सारा concept. Policy instrument. Bank rates adjusting increase or decrease to credit supply in the economies. Instrument. Awesome. You guys got the answer correct. और क्या चाहिए? Concept is clear. We are going to the next one. Okay. 4 types of public policy. The nature of public policy. There are 4 types of public policies, right? 4 types of public policy: protective, restrictive, regulatory, facilitating. Protective, restrictive, regulatory, facilitating. Protective, restrictive, regulatory, facilitating. Protective means to protect. Restrictive means to stop. Regulatory means to check. Facilitating means to help. Okay. Protective to protect. अभी क्या है? 4 types of public policy. सरकार, the government can create policies which can be defined into 4 broad areas. It can be a protective policy, a restrictive policy, a regulatory policy, or a facilitating policy. Okay, it can be protective, restrictive, regulatory, facilitating. Protective is to protect. For example, custom duties. सरकार क्या बोलती है? अगर आप चाइना से सामान मंगवाओगे, right? अगर आप चाइना से सामान मंगवाओगे, I will take 200% taxation. If you're getting a luxury car from, let's say, Europe, you're getting a Ferrari from Italy, you're getting a Mercedes from Germany, or you're getting a BMW from Germany, if you're importing a luxury car into India, that means you're spending money in Germany, you're spending money to an Italian company. तो आपको 200% tax भरना पड़ेगा. So a car which is for 80 lakhs in Italy, a Ferrari is for 80 lakhs, but India आते आते वो 3 करोड़ की बन जाती है. Why? This is because of the protective policy of the government. To protect who? to protect domestic companies, to protect Indian products from foreign competition, to protect Indian products from foreign competition. It does a protective policy like custom duty. इंडिया में बाहर से सामान मंगाओगे 200% टैक्स भर देना, मंगा सकते हो मंगा लो, राइट, प्रोटेक्टिव. सेकंड इज रेस्ट्रिक्टिव, टू स्टॉप. यहाँ पे इट इज प्रोटेक्टिंग इंडियन प्रोडक्ट्स फ्रॉम फॉरेन कंपटीशन. यहाँ पे इट इज telling them that you cannot do this. It's a restrictive policy like child labor abolition, alcohol ban in Bihar or Gujarat, right? So the government says, like, you cannot manufacture or sell alcohol in this particular state. That state government defines that public policy and says, आप नहीं कर सकते. दिल्ली में, in Delhi NCR, आम आदमी पार्टी said 1+1. They're selling alcohol 1+1. Buy one, get one free. Alcohol, that is a public policy, that is a different thing. But in states of Gujarat and Bihar, what they're saying, it's a restrictive policy. You cannot sell alcohol in Bihar. You cannot sell alcohol in Gujarat. If you sell, you will go to jail. If you sell, there will be a fine and you will go to jail. Right? Restrictive policy. It stops them from doing something which is wrong for that particular government, that particular state, or that particular country. Right? Child labor abolition. You cannot keep child labor in your factory, in your house. If any one of you have, I would really request, please stop doing that. Right? Child labor abolition. You cannot keep a child as a labor in your house. Let them study. Let them get education. Right? That is child labor abolition. That's a restrictive policy. Then there is a regulatory policy that is going to check. हम कुछ नहीं करेंगे, बताएंगे नहीं सही क्या है गलत है. We will keep a check on you, like SEBI, IRDAI, RERA. All these organizations, we will study about this. This is chapter number 5, right? Regulatory policy के ऊपर पढ़ेंगे, which is chapter number 5, wherein we have, the government has set up some organizations to keep a check कि सब कुछ ठीक चल रहा है या नहीं, सब कुछ ठीक चल रहा है नहीं. SEBI for stock market, for stock exchanges, for share market, we have SEBI. IRDAI, that is for insurance, right? For RERA is for real estate, right? रियल एस्टेट सेक्टर के लिए ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बना दी, कोई भी फ्रॉड ना करे. इफ यू लुक एट दिस, ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर डन वेयर पब्लिक मनी इज इन्वॉल्व. जैसे सेबी में शेयर मार्केट में पब्लिक मनी है, इंश्योरेंस में पब्लिक मनी है, रियल एस्टेट में पब्लिक मनी है. मनी ऑफ द पीपल ऑफ द कंट्री इज इन्वॉल्व टू कीप अ चेक ऑन ऑल द बिजनेसेस which are involved where public money is involved. उन्होंने एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बना दी so that they check कि आप सही कर रहे हो, गलत कर रहे हो. आपको तो सुपरवाइजर बिठा दिया. The government has put a supervising committee, a supervising organization on the heads of all the businesses which are dealing in public money, like share markets, insurance, real estate, banking. इस सब के लिए we have like SEBI, IRDA, insurance, RERA for real estate. And this is part of the regulatory policy. This is part of the regulatory policy. Number 4 is facilitating. Facilitating means to help. जैसे MSME के बारे में पढ़ रहे थे फिजिकल पॉलिसी में, सिमिलरली MSME का विल फॉल अंडर फैसिलिटेटिंग टाइप ऑफ पॉलिसी. बिजनेस को हेल्प करने के लिए कोई पॉलिसी आ रही है, लाइक नेशनल स्किल डेवलपमेंट कॉर्पोरेशन बना दी. नेशनल स्किल अपस्किलिंग, बच्चों को नर्स बनाओ, लाइक ऑल टीच पीपल नर्सिंग, टीच पीपल इलेक्ट्रिशियन. We are educating all these people into IT, computer science, computing, data entry, all the supported jobs that we can bring from the world to India. That is facilitating kind of public policy. So 4 kinds of public policy that the government can actually put in force in a country, a state government or a central government, anyone, is protective to protect, restrictive to stop, regulatory to check, and facilitating to help. Right? Great. Okay, very big question, 4 times asked by Bala Sanjana. Let me read that. While I think this concept is clear, right? This concept is clear. If not, ask me questions from these 4, if any. But I think it's a very simple thing, right? ज़्यादा इसमें समझने का कुछ है नहीं. ICAI is a body governed by the Act, Harshit, right? ICAI is a parliamentary act body, right? It's an institute for educational institute empowered by, made under the Parliamentary Act of Institute of Chartered Accountants, made under the Chartered Accountants Act of India, right? Leading company of India says its shares are going down. Okay. So, it's more like if the shares of the company are going down, that means everyone's money which was involved in that company, they will lose all the money, right? So, given that, as such, GDP won't go down, but the overall sentiment will be, yaar, ye to bahut gadbad hai. The country, the companies, if the biggest company, so let's say if your elder brother or elder sister does something wrong, right? Then the entire thing भी यार ये तो छोटा बच्चा भी कुछ गलत करेगा, right? The other siblings will also do something wrong because they are getting influenced by the elder sibling. That is more what a share market happens to be, right? If a very big renowned company fails or goes bankrupt, people start thinking, yeah, when such a big company can fail, all the small companies can also fail. So there is an inherent fear that is created in people's minds, and that is how it affects the country. That is, people start pulling out money from the share market and put it in different instruments. घर खरीद लेंगे, they'll start buying gold or they'll start buying something else. They'll start investing somewhere else, or they will take out all the money. So the overall sentiment changes. Right? That is how it functions. A lot of things to learn in economics and share market, right? You cannot understand it from just one example. Protective and restrictive. Protective means to protect, restrictive means to stop. It's there on the screen, right? Foreign competition से बचाने के लिए you put a higher tax, that is protective, but you do not allow to do anything, that is restrictive, right, Nikhil? Great. You know what is forex market? Hira, I am pretty sure you should know what is forex market operation, right? Foreign exchange, dollar to rupee, all these operations are your forex market operations, right? We have done this in 11th and 12th. Atmanirbhar Bharat is a facilitating policy, that's right. Actually, I'm sorry, I would not be able to answer that administrative answers. Yeah, I'm pretty, like, honestly, I did that like 5, 6 years back. You will have to check with your friends where to send the form. But I'm pretty sure, like, I remember from my time, we used to send it to the main branch only. Right? But do check with your friends, right? Question on the screen, boys and girls. Cool. And that is right. Majority of you are right. Facilitating. Startup India is a facilitating. Helping. Facilitating means to help a business grow. Facilitating business hai. This is a facilitating business, right? Awesome. Let us go to the next question very quickly. What could be a term used for revising the already active policy? उसको क्या बोलते हैं? Revising the already active policy को revise करने को क्या बोलते हैं? If there is a policy already in the country and the government decides to revise it, what do we call it? Policy correction, policy reform, policy check, or policy policing? Quickly. Super duper, super duper, super duper quickly. Sakshi, I replied, right? I am not sure about the admin wala thing. Yeah. Money, what is your question? You have written, tell me once. What is your question? Can you please put that again? I'll be happy to answer. Scheme and policy are the same? No. Policy is a broader term. Scheme is within the policy, right? Policy is what broad term है. Within it, we have schemes. Within policy, we have small schemes, right? Any questions? The correct answer is policy reforms. That is right. That is absolutely right. It is policy reforms, right? Before we go to economic reforms, can we just take a break for 2 minutes, please? I will need a break for 2 minutes, right? We'll be quickly back within 2 minutes and start with economic reforms. We'll complete it in next 20 minutes. Aram se, very aram se, right? Let us come back in 2 minutes and then start with economic reforms, right? Just break for 2 minutes. You guys also go drink water or something. I also drink water. We'll be back in within 2 minutes and start and complete this chapter today. Right? Just give me 2 minutes. We will be back. All right, guys, we are back. I want all of you to be back as well. Right? I want all of you to be back as well. Quickly, 30 seconds. Let us quickly join in and complete this thing. Let us very quickly join in and complete this. Great. Are we back? Just give me a yes back. We are here so that I know I can start. Great. Okay. Can we say vibrant Gujarat is a facilitating policy? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is helping more businesses. It is going to help a lot of businesses, right? Cool. So in 1992, what happened is we had economic reforms, right? You just answered policy reform. Revision is called policy reform. Formation of policy was done, okay? Policy formation हो चुका है. अब इसको reform कर रहे हैं. We are revising it. We are just reforming it. There is a policy in place. We are just reforming it. उसको change कर रहे हैं. Right? We are revising an already active policy. We are not creating new policies. Right? And that is economic reforms of 1992 that happened in India. Okay. Now, what happened in India? What is economic reforms of LPG policy? Liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Okay. The three political reforms, the three economic reforms of 1992 were very simple. Okay. Liberalization kiya sarkar ne. There is mixed economy. It is mixed economy. There are systems in the economy which is already there. We are just revising them. We are just increasing their ambit. Pehle bhi sarkar was liberal. There was certain portion privatized, certain portion was still global, right? But 1992 में सब कुछ expand कर दिया. They expanded everything in 1992, right? Easier tax laws, removing quotas and bars. Quota खत्म कर दिया. Quota system in businesses was made away with. Easing restrictions on economic activities. आपको जो करना है आप business करो. Do whatever you want to do, man. Right? That is liberalization. Privatization was happening. A lot of government was selling its ownership to private players. Tata Steel, Adani this, ArcelorMittal, Steel, Railway, all these things were becoming private. Insurance was becoming private. Automotive industry was becoming private. A lot of stake in government was sold off to private players. So for example, government ने क्या किया? गेल इंडिया का 5% उठा के टाटा को दे दिया कि 5-10% टाटा आप रखो, फंक्शन और 5-10% ऑफ आवर बिजनेस यू टेक ओवर, राइट? यू टेक ओवर द बिजनेस, यू स्टार्ट डूइंग बिजनेस, राइट? प्राइवेट कर दो, बिकॉज प्राइवेटाइजेशन क्रिएटेड लॉट मोर अपॉर्चुनिटीज फॉर अ लॉट मोर पीपल, राइट? Privatization के अंदर also we had 4 ways of doing privatization. We'll just study in the next slide, right? And globalization, allowing easier export, import, and foreign direct investment, bringing investment from foreign companies into India and making Indian people invest outside India is what FDI is, foreign direct investment, right? More export, more import opportunities for Indian people is what it meant. This is what it was, right? More investment opportunities, more import, export, FDI opportunities, all of that was basically your LPG policy, globalization, right? All of that was your globalization. Great. Any questions, or we can go to understand each of those in a simple way. So basically, if you look at my screen, what it says a very simple thing. India was earlier a closed economy, then it became an open, running, boosting economy, right? India was a closed economy and then it became a boosting, running economy. Right? Cage थी, close economy थी, सब कुछ expand करके खोल दिया, that go boss, go and grow as a nation. Right? Right. Can privatization play a role in unemployment? Yes, it is going to give employment. Right? Okay, so why did we need these reforms? India को 1992 में ऐसा क्या झटका लगा? What was that trigger point that India had to do an LPG policy in 1992? Very simple, right? Low infrastructural development. There was no infrastructure in the country. Fall of the Warsaw Pact between Soviet and its allies. Russia and its countries were breaking off. They were breaking off. That means Russia and Poland. Russia opened its economy. Multiple states split to fight the resources for Asia. Russia was our immediate neighbor. It was becoming an open economy, right? यूरोपियन यूनियन, इन यूरोप हर जगह से प्रेशर था. Russia was becoming an open economy. China was becoming an open economy. The European countries were very strong. They were forming a very big European Union. They were forming a group, a very big group amongst themselves, right? We had huge loan burden from International Monetary Fund, from World Bank and Agriculture Development Bank, right? हमारे ऊपर बहुत ज्यादा लोन था. इंडिया के ऊपर बहुत सारा लोन था फॉर द लास्ट 50 years इंडिपेंडेंस से लेके अभी तक का. वी हैड ह्यूज लोन्स. द ग्लोबल सिनेरियो, अदर economies, other countries were growing. They had started growing. हम लोग पीछे छूट जाते. We would have lost that race if we did not open up. And that is why in 1992, Manmohan Singh, the then finance minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh, the then finance minister, said, boss, we need to go for an economic reform. We need to be more liberal. We need to sell off our government stake. Private player को काम करने दो और employment बनाओ. And let people invest in India. Let Indian people invest outside India. Let us open the gates of the economy. Cage से निकाल के let us open our country to the world so that we can be a world power. Right? That is why these reforms were needed. Right? All this pushed India towards being more liberal, private, and global. India had to open up to survive. India had to open up to survive. वो survive ही नहीं कर पाती अगर we would have not opened our economy. We needed this push. We needed this push, right? Absolutely, right? Great. So what is liberalization? Liberalization, privatization, globalization. Liberalization हमने पढ़ लिया. Economic liberalization of a country's economic policy with the goal of making the economy more market and service oriented, expanding the role of private and foreign investment. Right? हम लोग strict कम हो गए. Reducing import tariffs, tax rate कम कर दिया, deregulating matter, reducing taxes, tariff हटा दिए, custom duty हटा दी. Right? Which led to an increase in foreign investments and high economic growth from 1990 to 2000s, right? Tax rate कम कर दिया, deregulate कर दिया markets को. We will not control anything. Let private players do what they want to do. The government became very, very lenient. Let the market decide. We will not control things. Let people decide their businesses. That is liberalization, right? Then came privatization. Privatization करने के 4 तरीके, right? International Monetary Fund told India that if they will liberalize all taxes only, then we will give you funds. Absolutely. So there were a lot of conditions. Great information there, Priyanka. That International Monetary Fund said कि भैया tax rate अगर गिराओगे, and you become more liberal, only then we will give you more funds, right? They had to do that. Option नहीं था कोई भी, मर जाते हम लोग. We were in a very difficult position as a country. We had to open up, right? So there are 4 ways of privatization. Privatization क्या है? The government sells its percentage portion in a government company. Public sector company को private sector बनाने के लिए they sell off their shares, right? That is called privatization. A public sector company जिसमें more than 51% गवर्नमेंट का है, गवर्नमेंट उसमें से कुछ शेयर उठा के अगर प्राइवेट लोगों को दे दे, right? They give it to a private player. That is called privatization, right? Oh, Manisha, wonderful. I am really glad these pictures are helping. That tiger and elephant wala, right? It took me a lot of effort to find those, but I'm happy that you guys like that photo, right? It helps you understand ki hua kya tha, right? So the government, when sells a percentage of share to some private people to share market में, या some Tata को, some Birla को, Ambani को, Adani को, किसी को भी privately बेचते हैं, या फिर or they go and sell in the share market, that is called privatization. There are 4 ways of going into privatization. So government can reduce its, like, let private players take over through 4 ways. Number 1 is delegation, right? Delegation का मतलब है government owns private delivers like contracts, grants, etc. अभी क्या होगा है? India में, if you look at it, it's privatization. How is privatization working in India is very simple. Okay, अभी national highway बनता है, roads बनती है, there are flyovers, नाला बनता है. What we have contractors, we have agents. So the government owns that. Government has the responsibility of making roads, but government road नहीं बनाती है. Government gives it to some private contractor कि boss ये लो tender निकालते हैं. They release a tender कि tender में some contractor will fill in, they do work and government pays them money. That is one way of privatization. They are giving opportunity to the general public who want to work in construction. They are giving more opportunities to the general public to make money, right? To contractors, grants, right? Tender निकाल के. That is called delegation. The government owns, सड़क सरकार की है, flyover is owned by the government, bridges are owned by the government, but they are made by some contractors जिनको टेंडर से दिया होता है. It is privatization because private player is they're creating an opportunity for the private businesses, right? Number two is divestment. Is partial sale. Partial sale of ownership जो LIC का हो रहा है, right? LIC का divestment हो रहा है. LIC का divestment हो रहा है, right? Partial sale of ownership. पूरी कंपनी नहीं बेचते. They are not selling the entire LIC. They are just selling certain portion. They are just selling certain portion of LIC to the general public ताकि गवर्नमेंट के पास थोड़ा पैसा आ जाए. Why is government do that? So that government के पास थोड़ा पैसा आ जाए and even people can earn money through the operations of LIC. Shares में खरीदोगे तो profit is yours also, right? So divestment से government gets a lot of money. With that money it can spend on the welfare of the society, of the country, right? अभी LIC की sales है, let us suppose they get 16,000 or 80,000 crore rupees. Let's say they get 80,000 crore rupees from LIC. वो 80,000 crore से they can do so much more, right? They can invest in more army, in stronger armors, buying aeroplanes, or creating a new, like more roads, more highways, or creating more schools, more hospitals. वो पैसा कहीं भी use हो सकता है, right? So privatization से government also gets money. When it sells partial share, थोड़ा सा हिस्सा बेचते हैं, that is divestment. Number three is displacement. Displace कर दो, right? Displace कर दो. That means I am not fighting the private player. Let private players expand and not fight them off as competition. Classic example, MTNL, right? Classic example is MTNL. What is MTNL? सरकार का था MTNL. Then came Jio, then came Airtel, then came Vodafone, Tata Docomo, Uninor. सब लोग आ गए telecom industry में. Everyone was giving internet, everyone was giving telephones. The government did not fight them. Sarkar did not fight the competition. They said, ठीक है, let them win the competition. हम अपने आप slowly and steadily, we will lose the competition and go out of the market, right? That is called displacement. Slowly and steadily अपने आप private हो जाएगी industry. अपने आप private players आ जाएंगे. We will not fight the private players. We will let them rule the market, right? That is called displacement. Right? Number four is disinvestment, right? Disinvestment, selling portion in ownership to private investors. यहाँ पे जो portion है, it is a major stake, okay? Divestment is partial, छोटा सा हिस्सा. Disinvestment is major stake, right? Majority share, अब बहुत बड़ा शेयर प्राइवेट को बेच देते हो, it is called disinvestment. You sell a small portion, it is called divestment. You sell a big portion, it is called disinvestment. You sell a small portion, it is called divestment. Delegation है, हम own करेंगे, we give contracts, we give tenders to private players so that they create opportunities for them. That is delegation. You do displacement, you do not fight the private players, it is called displacement. And divestment, that means you sell a big portion to the private players, that is called disinvestment. So 4 ways of privatization: divestment and disinvestment. Pranjal, that is what I'm shouting is divestment is partial share, thoda sa hissa, some portion is sold to the private players, it is divestment. Major share, bahut bada hissa, a big stake is sold to the private investors, it is called disinvestment, right? Cool. Any questions on this, please? Otherwise, we'll go to globalization then. delegation, new parliament. Okay. It is, see, in divestment, the government is not losing ownership. Disinvestment में it is losing ownership, right? Divestment में तो छोटा सा portion है, तो control government के पास रहता है. In divestment, because it's a partial sale, the ownership still, the major stake still remains with the government. Disinvestment में वो चला जाता है. It's taken over by the private players, right? Continuous divestment leads to disinvestment. That is absolutely right. धीरे धीरे आप divestment करते करते disinvestment कर देते हो, right? Small things lead to a greater thing, right? Small things lead to a greater. Small things of divestment, partial sale, lead to a more disinvestment, right? Awesome. On the disinvestment का आपका example, I'll give you a classic example of disinvestment, right? Air India. Air India is disinvestment. Okay, Air India is disinvestment. LIC is divestment. LIC is divestment. Air India is disinvestment. पूरा स्टेक ही बेच दिया सरकार ने. एयर इंडिया ने पूरा अपना स्टेक टाटा को बेच दिया. They sold the entire majority stake to Tata, right? That is called disinvestment. Divestment is LIC, 5-6% ही बेच रहे हैं. Disinvestment is Air India, पूरी कंपनी बेच दिया, right? That is the difference between divestment and disinvestment. Great. Let us go on to the next topic, which is globalization. Globalization के अंदर I have 3 topics. IFDI, which is inward foreign direct investment, flow of investment from other countries into India. बाहर की कंट्रीज का पैसा इंडिया में आ रहा है. That is IFDI, inward foreign direct investment. Flow of investment from India to other companies outside India. That is OFDI, outward foreign direct investment, right? And companies which are doing IFDI means inward foreign direct investment जो करते हैं, उनको हम लोग बोलते हैं foreign institutional investors. उनको हम बोलते हैं foreign institutional investors, right? IFDI को समझते हैं. Inward foreign direct investment क्या होता है? बड़ा सिंपल है. Flow of investment from other countries to India. सरकार ने क्या बोला, right? अगर बाहर से more companies from outside come into India, there will be very much competition in India. Domestic companies, Indian companies will face a lot of competition. So let us do something. Let us do certain rules. कुछ rules बना देते हैं, right? So that in certain sectors, certain kinds of businesses, foreign countries cannot, or if they want to invest, they can invest only certain percentage. So it is not uniform for all sectors. It depends on situation and importance of the sector. Ranges from 100%, 51, 49, 26. So let's say in insurance, abhi tak kya tha? Only 49% of any insurance business in India can only be owned by a foreign company in India, right? So that majority stake, so that majority control is still with an Indian company, right? Certain portions may it is 100, somewhere it is 51, somewhere it is 49, somewhere it is 26, right? So a lot of rules ताकि Indian companies को एकदम ही ना खा जाए. Let's say Amazon comes into India and पूरा Indian business ही खा गए, right? So that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. इसके लिए we have certain rules in IFDI, right? Some sectors which are kept out of FDI. In these sectors, exam question, these sectors, FDI is not allowed. Atomic energy, lottery, gambling, nidhi companies, agriculture, etc. Right? Even in defense, it is not allowed. A foreign company cannot come in and invest in defense businesses. क्योंकि इंडियन आर्मी का काम कोई फॉरेन कंपनी करेगी अगर तो हम खत्म हो जाएंगे, राइट? एटॉमिक एनर्जी हम खुद बनाएंगे. लॉटरी, गैम्बलिंग, निधि कंपनी, एग्रीकल्चर, there is no FDI allowed in these companies, in these businesses, right? In these businesses, they are kept out of foreign direct investment, right? IRCTC is more like आपका delegation, contract tender निकलते हैं उसके. IRCTC में we have tenders, right? Contractors आते हैं, that is delegation. Nidhi companies is a form of companies which is very crucial. आप Companies Act में पढ़ोगे. In law, you will study about Nidhi companies, right? It's a kind of a company, Nidhi company, right? Government specified companies होती हैं. We call them Nidhi companies, which is basically for Nidhi Nivesh, right? For the public, which deal with the money of the public, right? Oh, great. That is great, Ankit. So IFDI, FDI का main branch is there. वो बैंक है sir. IFDI बैंक की बात नहीं कर रहे हम. This is inward foreign direct investment. Right? This is IFDI. Similarly, अगर कोई Indian company is investing in outside India, like keep giving you examples, Airtel का, Bajaj का selling trucks, selling motorcycles in Africa, Tata selling trucks in Africa, they're investing money in Africa. That is called outward foreign direct investment. That is called outward foreign direct investment. Flow of investment from India to other companies outside India. Like Airtel invested around $1 billion in Mauritius. PVR Cinemas invested in Sri Lanka, right? This trend is picking up. A lot of Indian companies are now investing outside India. And this is called OFDI, outward foreign direct investment. जब Indian companies are spending money outside, are investing money outside India. Now, foreign institutional investors, right? Large groups, investment companies with huge amounts of money. जैसे we were studying about American Express, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, right? Chapter 3 में पढ़ रहे थे हम इन सब के बारे में. Goldman Sachs is an investment bank. मैं आपको बता रहा था, they take money and invest in different countries. They take money from rich people and say कि बॉस आपका पैसा अफ्रीका में लगा देता हूँ. So they take money from US people, they take money from European people and say, I will invest your money in India. Give me your money, I will invest your money in India. Foreign institutional investors, they're investing in companies via debt, equity, partnership as a bet of getting huge profits in return. Right? BlackRock, SoftBank, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all these are investment banks, which are foreign institutional investors. Big groups of individuals, बहुत अमीर लोगों के ग्रुप्स हैं ये, big banks के ग्रुप्स हैं ये, जो पूरे वर्ल्ड में दे इन्वेस्ट मनी थ्रू आउट द वर्ल्ड. फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं. यूएस का पैसा उठा के अफ्रीका में, अफ्रीका पैसा उठा के इंडिया में, इंडिया का पैसा उठा के दुबई में, दुबई का पैसा उठा के चाइना में, फ्रॉम चाइना दे उठा के टू लेट्स से अफगानिस्तान एंड पाकिस्तान, फ्रॉम पाकिस्तान उठा के बांग्लादेश, फ्रॉम बांग्लादेश उठा के इंडोनेशिया. दे कीप रिवॉल्विंग देयर मनी, इन्वेस्टिंग मनी in the entire globe. Foreign institutional investors, right? All MNCs are OFDIs? No. You have to invest money in outside. आपका business सिर्फ बाहर है तो आप OFDI नहीं. If you just have a business outside India, you are not OFDI. If you invest money, let's say आप company बनाते हो, you start a company, you invest in other companies in other country, right? You invest your money in companies of that country. That is OFDI. अगर आप वहां पे business करते हो, you are not being OFDI, right? जब आप when you are investing money in that country's companies, that is called OFDI, right? Walmart investing in India is FDI. It's inward foreign direct investment. Walmart is investing money in India in Flipkart, right? That is IFDI, right? Both are important. OFDI is also important. IFDI is important. I see no one is better, right? Both are important, right? Okay. With that, apna chapter number 4 is also complete. We are just 2 minutes over our time, and I've completed chapter 4. I'm so happy. We studied about history of public policy in India, India after independence, policy development and types. 4 types पढ़े हमने, right? 4 types of policies we studied. Economic reforms, 1992, LPG, liberalization, privatization के 4 ways we just studied. Globalization के अंदर we just studied IFDI, OFDI, and FIIs, right? And this is, boys and girls, आपका chapter number 4 also done and dusted, right? Okay. Last 2 minutes, let us quickly take up any questions that you have, right? Any questions that you have in the last 1-2 minutes, and then we will wrap up for today. I'll see you in the next session with chapter number 5, right? Great. Thanks, Mansi. Thanks, Mama. Thanks, Apni. India doesn't have any bank like all of this, like Goldman. It has. Why not? आपका LIC बहुत पैसा बाहर इन्वेस्ट करता है, right? HDFC बैंक पैसा इन्वेस्ट करता है बाहर. These are banks. They invest a lot of money outside, right? India में a lot of banks invest बाहर because they have so much money. They invest outside, right? Can an NRI invest in India termed as IFDI? Yes. That is IFDI because they are NRI now. वो Indian है but non-resident है. Jio's investment in Meta is OFDI. Yes, and Meta ka investment in Jio is IFDI. Facebook investing money in Jio is IFDI. Reliance investing money in a US companies is OFDI, right? Great. Fiscal policy we have done, Priyanka. Expenditure of the government. पैसा कहाँ से आएगा, पैसा कहाँ खर्चेंगे is fiscal policy. Very simple. Fiscal policy of the government is from where will I get money and where will I spend that money. उस policy को बोलते हैं fiscal policy, which includes taxation. कहाँ से पैसा आएगा, taxation से आएगा, ठीक है. Where will we spend? Public expenditure. रोड में, हॉस्पिटल में, स्कूल में कहाँ खर्चा करेंगे, इंडस्ट्री में करेंगे, ऑन बिजनेसेस करेंगे, कितना करेंगे, that is fiscal policy, right? Thank you, Ankit. I hope I was मेरे बाल भी ऐसे खड़े होते, right? Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Right? Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next session. We will start with chapter number 5. Really excited for that as well. Till then, thank you so much. I will see you in the next one. Right? Take care, guys.